militia. Then why can't they give out this information that we're requesting regarding the video? I mean, that's just the bottom line. If you look at the Imam Luqman case and the Hutari case, you'll see totally different protocols used. With the Imam case, the FBI controlled the entire scene, controlled the warehouse. They went into the warehouse, they detonated percussion grenades, then released dogs, which led to someone's death. It was a very volatile situation that was escalated. With the Hutaris, they gave them a long period of time and they rused them out. And I mean, the charges with the Hutaris was totally different at a much higher level than allegedly being involved with some stolen merchandise. I mean, we're talking about domestic terrorists, treason, okay, plotting to build explosive devices. This is what the Hutaris were charged with. But, yeah, but they were handled totally different, which raises more suspicion in our minds. Any other questions?
Was the gun ever shown to anybody that the imam had a gun? We never saw a gun. I mean, in reference to the Hutari, we saw, you know, a whole room of guns, a whole table full of guns. But with the imam, they're saying he had a gun, but we never saw the gun.
Well, to our knowledge, there was firearms that was retrieved from his home. But as far as a gun actually on him, I don't know. I don't know.
Yes. As far as they use another word for the dog, autopsy.
Necropsy report.
Right.
We sent in a Freedom of Information Act request for the necropsy report, meaning the dog autopsy, and that was also denied. The necropsy report for the dog was also denied. The necropsy report would have showed us what caliber gun shot the FBI canine. There is a possibility that friendly fire shot the FBI canine. We don't know. And that's the whole point we're getting to with not being transparent in regards to public information. This is public information that we all should have access to. Religious leaders, advocates, and the media under the Freedom of Information Act. And we're not being given access to that.
Reverend Charles Williams from King Solomon. Did the church speak about Imam Luqman being handcuffed after he was shot over 20 times?
We stand in solidarity with the Islamic community 110% around the issues that happened from the very beginning to the very end. And that means even at the time that he had been handcuffed, even after the raid that happened afterwards, we are not picking and choosing and trying to decide what's safe and what's not safe. And this is the same reason why we are calling on President Obama to say, hey, we want what you promised us. You promised us transparency. We're asking for transparency. We're no longer under the Bush era where we had to walk around and all feel like we were, because of these Homeland Security Acts and so forth else, and felt like we could be arrested if somebody looked at you wrong. This is a new administration, and we expect this administration to live up and stand up to what it has promised us in its campaign. And so this is the reason why the United States Social Forum is coming here to Detroit, and we're going to be turning, all 20,000 activists, if we need to, in front of the Ed McNamara building at the federal courthouse, 211 4th Street, where the prosecutors are, to make sure people understand that this is not a religious issue. This is not an issue of Islam. This is not an issue of Christianity. This is an issue of human rights. And if we fall on this issue, if we fail on this issue, if we don't fight on this issue, then they'll be beating our boys out in the street and shooting them in the back all over the city of Detroit.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Can somebody talk about the just the communication with the DOJ? Who has reached out, how often, and has the Department of Justice said anything to you or Eric Holder by way of somebody else? Or?
Well, a number of civil liberties organizations have written and tried to reach out to the DOJ. Our organization, CAIR, has the NAACP wrote a letter to Attorney General Holder, a number of different organizations. The latest response that we got back from the DOJ was about a week and a half ago. And the letter stated that the FBI investigation has not been wrapped up, that once it's wrapped up, the DOJ Civil Rights Division will then review and possibly consider, they would consider launching a thorough civil rights investigation. We believe that the circumstances around this case merits the necessity that they do launch immediately a thorough civil rights investigation, because there's too much uncertainty and there's too much lack of community trust in regards to the process or lack thereof that has taken place thus far.
Was Imam Luqman checked for gunpowder residue either on his clothing or hands? From, you know, because when you fire on him, he said the gunpowder residue gets back on his clothing.
That information was not in the autopsy report. The autopsy report that we have as public information has nothing mentioned on it that there was any type of gunpowder or residue on his hands. So we don't have any knowledge of that.
I did ask a question at the press conference that the medical examiner had about whether his hands were bad, which is what they normally do to preserve the hands so they can check for gunshot residue. And he said they were not. So I'm finding that in many cases locally too with the police, that when they accuse somebody of shooting someone and then the person is killed, that there's no evidence their hands were bad. But I had a question too. Do you feel that this is related to, there's various arrests going on nationally as well as the international attacks by the U.S. against various against Pakistan, against Afghanistan, Iraq, other countries, the war that's really going on internationally?
Yes, ma'am, but we were wondering that ourselves, but you know, this case is so much different from a lot of those cases that we see in the international news, like the one from Nigeria, and also this latest case. This was a case of people that were accused of really petty thief. Yeah, that's all. And it was a 3-year investigation on it. That they had, the best they could come up with was someone that's tried to change the VIN number on a truck, a 2 or 3 year old truck, and someone that was maybe accepting goods to be sold, which the FBI supplied the money and the goods that was involved in it. So it's nothing like these international cases of terrorism, and they knew this. So why would they lure this man to this warehouse, knowing that there was nothing involved with any kind of terrorism or meant to take over the government or anything like that, and kill him?
So they used his economical status as far as him being poor.
That's right. You know, the mosque where it was located in one of the low socio-economic area. I know for a fact that sometimes the mosque didn't even have water to use, and they had to make what we call the yamen, which is using clean sand before they could make prayer over there. So, and the FBI knew this. So they went to an area with people that with no money and enticed them with fur coats and big, what do you call them, bales of laptop computers. These guys couldn't even pay the water bill. How could they get that? And then the FBI supplied the money for it. So it was a case to think of trying to really discredit Islam in one sense, but as far as terrorism or taking over the government, nothing of the case.
Well, that wasn't really the point of my question, because I believe the wars overseas aren't really against terrorism, but I just did want to make that clear. I wasn't trying to connect that. But could I also get the spelling of your name, please? I'm from the Michigan Citizen, Diane Bukowski. First name is
A-B-D-U-L-L-A-H, and the last name is E-L-A-M-I-N.
Okay.
And that's Imam